2, 1, 2. Hello. Hello.
Hello. Oh, that's not. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that's not bad.
All right. Welcome. Thanks for coming to hang out with us today. How's everyone doing? You excited to be here? Let's try that one more time. I felt like you were lack of energy. Are you guys excited to be here? All right. So my name is Paige Jackson.
And I'm Derrick Jackson.
Hello. We are the
And we're the
owners.
Jacksons.
We're the Jacksons.
If you didn't already know that.
Jackson 5. We have 5 children, by the way. Pun definitely intended. We have 5 kids. But yeah, if you didn't know, we are the owners of Grass Grace Farm, and you can tell more about that.
So for those who don't know us, it's your first time seeing us, you're trying to figure out what's going on. So I'm originally from Jackson, Mississippi, and my wife is from?
I'm from Georgia.
All right, and we are grass farmers from North Carolina, and Durham, North Carolina. That's who we are. We're first-generation farmers. So no background at all. My family had some land in the Delta of Mississippi. If anybody's familiar with that, Yazoo County or Yazoo area, that's where my family's from. But I never farmed anything. I didn't spend any time other than the one summer out of the year, or the one day out of the year where I had to go down and catch crawfish. I don't know why we never ate them, but we had to go down and dig them out of the ditches. So we did that. That's about all of the farming experience we had prior to starting this journey in 2019. So welcome for those who don't have a background.
Well, and I guess we should maybe get a feel for the room. Who does have a farming background?
Yeah. How many
farmers do you have?
Generational first-gen farms here? First gen.
Okay.
Your first gen farmer. Second gen farm. Oh, wow. Third. Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah,
all right.
that's a pretty big deal.
All right, so first gen homesteaders. There we are. I mean, how about that?
Yeah, that's another
Right?
qualifier.
Okay, and how many of y'all are on the fence, stalking your neighbors with chickens, your friends? How many of those? How many of those still on the fence?
We see you, people.
Okay. Well, that's cool because we were all of those at one point in time. So
Yeah.
let's
We
do
were
it.
literally all of those things. So today we're going to be talking about combat boots to Muck boots, which that title is on purpose. Muck does not pay us, by the way, but we do wear Muck boots. So if you're watching,
We do.
boots, we wear your stuff. But no, so we were a military family for 14 years, and Derrick can tell you a little bit more about that. He served in civil affairs, which special operations, and it was a journey that our family went through for a really, really long time. And Derrick, you want to tell more about your career before we get into?
Yeah. So just to make it to build a little bit of context for how we got here, and what are we doing here, right? So. What made us leave 14 years of a made career at that point? I had made a certain rank where I was good as long as I didn't do anything that would require a senator to get involved. So, other than kill somebody, right? So I was made. I could stay and there would be no issues. Paige and I were traveling multiple. We had trips planned. Our kids were in private school. We had our dream house. Everything was set. We were on a rotation. Everything it was rolling. We were doing good. I was at the height of my career, and everything was great. But what happened? But something was wrong. During that time, something was wrong.
Yeah. So we were starving. And when I say we were starving, I mean not so much in the physical sense because we had food, but we were starving with our marriage. Our marriage was starving, our relationship with our children was starving, and also cultivating authentic community. We were deprived, and we didn't even know it. And so my husband had this really crazy idea to start a farm. So we're going to tell you guys a little story. Derrick, you want to start? Because this is...
Yeah. So this journey, it started with some health issues. At the time, I didn't know what it was. If you know anything about special forces, special operations, they try to keep you in the best shape of your life, right? So I had worked all this time to get to this point where I was just like at my peak, right? Or getting there to my peak where I could perform at the level that I had trained so long for. Well, after all that stuff, I was having these issues in my gut, like not anxiety. It was like gut issues, like gut pain, and I had severe congestion. And during that time, I was like, man, this is weird. So, I'm asking the doctor, I'm like, hey, so what is causing this? Like, why I'm eating well, or according to the nutritionist, what well is. I'm eating well, I'm exercising, I'm taking the right things. They have me on the right everything, right? My regimen is great. I'm doing the right things. But what's going on? They say, well, there's nothing wrong with you. And I'm like, well, there's something, because I have stomach pain, and I don't like pain. Like, when I say pain, I can take a great deal of pain, but something as simple as like a stomach cramp, that just doesn't make sense to me, all right? That don't make sense, all right? So I asked them, like, what is this? And they're like, well, we want you to go see a specialist, right? And this cognitive performance specialist, right? And he's going to help you with some things. And I was like, okay, well, I know what cognitive is, performance, I know what that is, but the two together, what is happening here? Like, we go in this room, and this guy, long story short, was trying to tell me that it was in my head, right? You're making these things up, right? You don't have a problem. We're looking at everything. Like, you are in great shape. It's just a mental thing. You just have anxiety. And I was like, okay, well, that doesn't make sense. Fast forward, I go to Colombia, the country, for 6 months, and I come back, and I realize, wait a second, I didn't have any issues. Like, I didn't have these stomach issues. What happened? My wife was like, okay, something's going on. It's the dairy. So me and my wife have this thing where we cheat a little bit from the kids, right? They can hear us, but they already know this now. We already confessed to them, right? At nighttime, we used to do this. At nighttime, we would eat ice cream. It's called happy hour. It's like right after they go to bed, right? It sounds like some of you know what this is, right? Yes, I don't know why the kids never thought to check the freezer. It was always there, hidden in plain sight, right? There's always ice cream in there. I ate a pint a day, like it was a thing. So I was eating it, and while I was there in Colombia, I didn't eat dairy. There's a thing that you don't do when you travel to third world countries is you don't eat dairy, right? You don't mess with things. And first of all, I don't know if you've ever seen a cow. If you've ever seen where milk comes from, I think all of y'all know that milk comes from a cow, but not everybody knows that. That's okay. It's okay. Chocolate milk does not come from a cow. But I didn't, when I saw these cows, I was like, where are they? First of all, if I drank the milk from the cow, I would feel like I was stealing from a homeless man. That's what I felt like, right? So there's no way I would drink the milk, let alone where are they getting it from? So while I was there, we didn't eat it. We didn't eat any dairy or drink any milk, right? And they sold their milk in a bag. So that just freaked me out a little bit. Didn't make sense. So after I came back to the States, Paige told me, comes to find out it's the dairy. And you can take a supplement for it. We were those, hey, you can take a supplement? Oh, I take supplements, right? What type of supplement? I'm not taking a supplement to eat ice cream. I'm going to just eat ice cream. That's what I'm going to do. Forget the stomach cramps. I'm just going to eat ice cream. So long, deep dive into this, we start looking, and I asked Paige, I was like, why is it that dairy makes my stomach hurt and it makes my nose run in the morning time? Perfectly fine. I don't have allergies. I don't have the sniffles or anything. Why is it that when I eat a pint of ice cream, a whole one, the whole thing, in one sitting, I do that. It
was a lot of ice cream.
It was a lot of ice cream. But it was good ice cream. Why when I wake up, does it feel like, I have this pounding headache? That doesn't make sense to me. And then we started researching. Comes to find out, dairy isn't what it's meant to be. It isn't produced the way that it was raised to be. So anyway, we go through these things, and that led us down the discovery
it led us down to just discovering farms. So from that point on, we said, hey, if we're going to be about actually our food and caring about our food, we need to be able to trace the source. So that then took us to visiting farms. And at the time, we lived in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I don't know if anyone's from Fayetteville, but they have one tiny farmer's market. And that was kind of a problem because we were balancing all the things, right? Like kids in soccer, kids in dance, and then trying to make it to this market, which was tiny and didn't really have a lot.
Yeah.
But we went faithfully. We were there. That's where we were getting our food from.
We were those parents that were like, okay, shake hands, hurry up, get out the field. We have to get to the farmer's market. We have to go.
Right. So that became our life. And, and we were like, hey, we're going to support farms. We need to know where the food is coming from. And then we realized that when it came to farming, not everyone farms the same way. Like, people farm differently. We called ourselves getting half a cow from a guy.
Oh, we were gonna get a whole cow.
We're getting a whole cow.
Whole cow.
And the guy didn't have any grass, but he said he was grass fed. And I remember being like, I don't know about that. I don't know about this. I don't see any grass. So
we go out to the farm because at this point, after we started doing all this research, it's like, wait a minute, the labels aren't. That doesn't mean. Wait a minute, these labels don't really mean anything. Like we're seeing this, but that doesn't make sense. Yeah. I was at Sprouts shopping, buying everything, and Paige was like, "Stop going to Sprouts." I was like, "But it's a farmer's market,
I had a
right?"
whole attitude.
That's the place.
That's not the same thing.
That was us.
Well, so we went through this debacle of just like, hey, we need to meet the people. We need to know who's raising our food. We need to have a relationship. Know your farmer, know your food, right? So then the guy who we knew, who was raising our chicken for us, one day he just ran out of chicken. And in North Carolina, which we didn't know this, you can't raise chicken all year round. So running out of chicken is kind of a normal thing, right? You raise what you need for the season and then eventually you don't have enough. Well, we didn't know that. And Derrick was very upset. He was heated. He was like, how does the chicken man not have chicken? I mean, I thought he was like gonna fight somebody. I was like, I don't know. He just is out of chicken. We gotta figure something else out.
What Paige is not mentioning is that grass-fed incident was very traumatic. I don't know if when you realize that someone has lied to you and then you see it and they continue, it was underneath my skin. So we go out there as a family. We made a trip. It was 45 minutes to drive out here to this farm, which wasn't a big deal, but we're going to do this thing to support this farm and to feed our family. So we go out here, and I was trying to figure out, why is this guy, he always makes it extremely difficult for me to come out there, right? But we say we're coming, and we get there. And again, I don't know anything about farming. At the time, we didn't know anything, right? So we get there, and I'm passing all these huge farms, right? Pastures and pastures and pastures. I'm like, oh, okay, this is what it's supposed to look like, right? I don't know. And when we get there, and he has, now that I know, about 2 acres of land, and I knew it was 2 acres now because I can count an odd now, and he had it fenced off. And I was like, wait a minute, but the fence is over here. All that grass was green coming in. Okay, that's a little different. We get there and he's like, well, yeah, this is the cows and this is the farm. I was like, is there some, like all the way down? He was like, no, this is me right here. And I was like, you raised 16 cows from whatever you're doing, even if it's for 6 months, right here on these 2 acres. And he was like, yeah, they're inside of this piece right here. And then I give him a little extra, and I was like, whoa, wait, extra. He was like, yeah, it's high quality stuff. And I was like, no, that's not, unfortunately to me, that's not grass-fed. And you said grass-fed, I assume that these cows only eat grass. And he was, we didn't even go down that road. I just said, okay. Paige was like, well, we should buy something. I said, no, unfortunately, we're not. And that was traumatic to the point where it's just like, we just have to do it ourselves.
Well, I didn't know he was thinking this, though, until the chicken incident happened, right? So it was the beef and then the chicken. The chicken was like sent him into a spiral. And I was just sitting along for the ride. I was like, well, okay, you're upset about chicken. All right. Like, well, I don't know what you're going to do about this. So then Derrick, I guess, eats a pint of ice cream and has this idea to order chickens. And I wake up the next day, and he's gone to work. I don't even think he talked to me about it, but he sends me this text message saying that he ordered 25 chickens. And I was like, wait a minute. You did what? And he was like, I ordered some chickens. And I was like, wait, like, you like a pet chicken? And he's like, no. Like, I ordered some meat birds for us to raise. And I was like, wait, okay, so I know nothing about this. This is all new. I have know nothing about getting chickens in the mail. I didn't even know that was a thing. It was like, wait, they come in a little box from the post office? What?
I didn't know that either.
We didn't know any of this stuff.
I didn't.
But, and I remember being like, I think Derrick may be going a little crazy. But it's you know what? It's whatever. And all around the same time, we got pregnant with baby number 5. She's a true farm kid. I was pregnant with baby number 5. So I'm just like, maybe this is like a midlife crisis. We're having a 5th kid. This is a surprise. You're trying to do something different. I don't know. So long story short, we get the chickens in the mail, and they were there. Like, they're here at the house. And Derrick is like, okay, we can just put them in this plastic box, and I'll make a brooder. Like, I'll build a brooder in our yard. It's going to be great. It's going to be fine.
There was some planning behind this. There was a lot more planning involved in this.
I knew none of the plans.
Right?
I knew none of the plans.
Some of the culprits are here today that started this I was going to say this mess.
We can call him out by name. Joel. Joel was the quote. Let me tell you something. So Derrick was listening to Joel Salatin, and he was like, listen, you need to listen to this book. This book is changing my mind on so many things. And I was like, okay. And the first time I met Joel, I said, you convinced my husband to buy some chickens. I just want to tell you that.
Yeah.
You were the culprit.
That's what did it. It was literally after eating the paint. I was sitting at the computer, and I had gone to this website multiple times and didn't do the order because I was like, something's wrong about this. I'm going to order these chickens, and then something's going to happen. We lived in a subdivision in a very hard HOA. It took us years.
Yeah, so that's the kicker. We didn't live on a farm when this happened. We didn't mean that in.
It took us years to get into this neighborhood.
No. But we didn't even have a yard, though. I think y'all need to understand. I wish I had a picture.
Yeah.
It was a house with like a side yard.
It was a side yard.
It wasn't
and
a
we
real
had concrete.
Yard.
The backyard was all concrete. Like it was right city. It was city life, right? It was perfect.
But in Derrick's mind, he was convinced to raise these chickens. So I'm like, okay, we need land. Like, we need to figure this out. I'm like calling people from church, being like, hey, do you have like an acre or something? Because
that's literally what we did. Just started asking people.
We are gonna need land for these chickens. Like, they're babies right now, but they're not gonna stay babies. You know, I'm motherly instinct is kicking in here. And Derrick's like, it'll be fine. We're gonna figure it out. Finally, someone has land. We clear the land. We get some livestock guardian dogs. We're like, okay, this is gonna work. It's gonna happen. And it's too far away from the house. It's like, I don't know, 30 minutes away. Yeah. I end up having the baby, and I'm like, you're not going anywhere.
We leased this land. We leased this land. It was like 15 minutes. It wasn't that far.
She's
being dramatic. It was like
far.
15 minutes, and I timed it, right? Because I needed enough time to be able to get up, go and move the chickens, right? Because Joel said you got to move them, right? You got to move them every day, right? And I'm like, you got to move. Okay, got it. So I got to be able to get over there and then get to PT, right? I got to drive, which is 30 minutes. It's only like 2 miles from the house, but it takes like 45 minutes to get there, right? So I had to, map all this out. And I'm like, okay, worst case, if I'm at the office and something happens, how do I get to the chickens?
He was only focused on the chickens, and we had a baby. Y'all, I don't think I understand what my side of this story is, okay? I had a baby number 5, and I had all these kids. And this man's talking about the chickens, okay? And I remember going into labor and being in the hospital, and he was like, oh, I gotta go check the chickens. And I'm like, no, you don't. No, you need to check on me.
It was a big day. It was the first day on pasture. It was from the brooder. It was a big day.
It was a big day. It was not. I think having our baby was the big day.
The first y'all know this, right? After I had to go back to the house after she had the baby to do the house stuff, right? And while I'm headed there, I'm like, okay, I gotta go do the chickens, and I need to go check on the property that we're gonna move the chickens to. While I'm driving over there, Paige is at the hospital with the baby, and I'm like, this was a bad idea. This is too far. The chickens are going in the front yard, in the subdivision, at the house.
So he builds this tractor. And he tries to disguise it as a greenhouse. No one really asked any questions about it, though.
It worked.
Around
worked.
Christmas time, he put a wreath on it. No one asked.
No one knew. Chickens in the front yard. A neighbor dog got out. And the dude was trying to figure out why was his dog trying to get to this plastic mobile in the front yard. We had plastic around one side of it that was facing the street, so when people drive by, they wouldn't be able to see inside, right? So we did that, and it was for the wind. But
we raised him.
We didn't let that stop us. So Paige had the baby. We go home, and it's fast forward a little bit, and it was time to process.
No. We have to talk process. Yes, processing.
Processing.
So I thought we were going to go to jail that day. That was a day where I was like, I don't think this is legal. Like, I think someone's going to call the cops because we're killing chickens in our yard, and I don't know if this is okay.
Yep, so for those who haven't raised chickens, right, I called a processor, right, like a good project manager does. Right. I have chickens that need to be turned into, or I have poultry that needs to be turned into chicken. I'm going to call the people that are experts at it, and I call them, and they say, how many? Yeah, sure. How many you got? And I say, I got 25. And they were like, 2,500? And I said, no, 25. And she was like, the lady laughed on the phone.
He had her on speaker, and I heard her laughing. I was like, is she laughing at you?
And I think she put me on speakerphone because she asked me to say it again, right?
She made him say it 2 times.
25.
And I said,
she said, baby,
so
I'm going to need you to.
That.
Yeah.
So then he was like, okay, we're going to process them ourselves. So we're just going to do it ourselves. And I was like, we're going to go to jail. Someone's going to we're going to go to jail. We can't be killing chickens, but you can kill chickens in your yard.
You
actually.
surely can.
You can. We rented a mobile processing unit from
from the county extension
office, $25 a day, and we process them ourselves.
During that time, everything that's keeping me going forward, right, getting kicked out of the HOA, because all these things happen, I had it all planned out, right? If the folks show up, right, and they say something, whoever it may be, I can deal with the police because they don't really know nothing about chickens, right? Just tell them that, whatever. But I had a story for all of them. It was a script, right? My kids are hungry, and this is the only way I can feed them, right? What, are you going to take a man's chickens? And if he says, yes, I will, or you're going to have to go to jail, then when he comes back, they'll all be gone. We'll just process them. That's just how easy it is. By the time they come back, we'll be done with them. So we only had 25. Worst case, I'll put them in the back of the SUV, and we'll drive them over to the acreage that we had cleared that we never used. So win-win situation. Nothing happened. We processed the chickens in the yard at the house, or we harvest them at the house in the yard as a family, got it done, got it sealed, got it bagged. It was the day after Paige left the hospital, day afterwards. We did it or 2 days afterwards.
No, it was I was going in shifts to sanitize my hands and nurse the baby. It was crazy.
It was crazy. Yeah, we cooked the first one in the scalder.
We cooked it.
We cooked it.
I mean,
we didn't do a very good job at that. But we made mistakes. But we fell forward. We kept falling forward. So during this time, at the end of it, we harvest everything and we're eating the first chicken. And for those who have ever either hunted, hunting is similar, but it's still different because you didn't actually raise it. When you raise it, to me, this is just my experience, it was totally different. People are like, but you've hunted. Yeah, I've hunted. I've done these things before. Yes, but you can't. I did it. We got it done. But eating it was a totally different story. Sitting down at the table, eating this chicken, was the first time I ever was full. That's when I got full for the first time. I was full, and I couldn't even explain it. I only ate a few bites of the chicken, and I was like, man, there's something. I don't even want to eat anymore. I just want to look at it, looking at my family eat this chicken, right? I can't even explain it. That is what that feeling during that time, after stepping back and just looking at what had happened over the 8 weeks or 9 weeks or 10 weeks that we raised these chickens, was during this time, we worked as a family. Yep. My kids were involved. It was the first time my kids actually saw me doing work. And to the point where it was the first time I ever heard my wife say this. And it wasn't like I was a lazy man. I was traveling 275 days out of the year. That means I was away from my bed. I deployed every 6 months away from my family, not with them. And it wasn't, there's a reason why you only go for 6 months. It ain't because you're having a breezeway. It's because you're burning yourself out and you just come home to recharge. So when she says, what'd you say? This is what I heard.
You worked really hard. I could see you working.
She
really
said
hard.
you worked really hard on that, and I was like a little bit. I felt it hurt me a little bit. I was like, whoa, I work hard in my head. I didn't say it out loud. I was like, I work hard all the time, but they don't see it, right? They see me packing my bags and they see me leaving. They don't even see me cutting the grass no more because I'm not here enough to cut the grass. Right? So it's when do they actually see me working? So during that time, I was already trying to make the decision of, is it time for me to depart or is it time for me to go all in? And at the time, this time that I'm spending, new child, kids just discovered something new, I was already on the fence. But after that first chicken, after eating that first chicken, literally that was I left the dinner table with, I can do this. During that time, what we failed to say was everybody was asking about this product. Our neighbors, our friends, all of our CrossFit folks were just like, oh, we want your chicken. We're like, first of all, you're crazy because we don't even know how we're going to get this poultry into birds on the table. We don't even know what we're doing. So you probably don't want our stuff. But they were like, no, y'all are doing it the right way, and we want this. So I'm thinking about all this time. It's like building. I'm like, man, people are asking about this. People from the kids' school, the headmaster at the kids' school thought that I got a call to the principal's office, and as an adult, that's typically not something that's ever good, right? It's typically not, especially when they catch you when you're dropping off, and it's like, oh, this is about to be bad. And it was, hey, your kids are talking about these animals or some chickens or something. I just want to make sure that, we're not. And I was like, oh, yeah, we have chickens. They're like, you have chickens. We're like, yes, we have chickens in our front yard at our house. Yes, we are doing that. And anyway, that was like, people from the school were just like super excited. Kids were asking about it. During that time, I say, Paige, we can do this. This is what I'm going to do. Forget consulting. we're going to do this. We can at least raise chickens.
I feel like we should add more context to that because we're talking about how we landed on making this decision to just make a huge lifestyle change. And there was a conversation that happened where Derrick was looking at LinkedIn and, because he was talking about getting out. There were a lot of life things, like I said, within our marriage that we dealt with. And even taking Derrick's mom came to live with us. She became disabled over the time. So it was a lot of things that we were kind of just dealing with as a family. And I looked at him and I said, hey, you can take a job anywhere. Like, I trust that you will be successful, that whatever you do, you will do it well. But is this going to include us? And he looked at me and he didn't answer, but he just kind of like stepped away and I guess was thinking about what I said. He does this thing where I say stuff and he doesn't respond. And then he comes back a few days later and he's like, I thought about what you said. So, and I said that. I was like, I will follow you. Like, I trust you. I trust you as the provider of our family. But the direction that we're going right now, is this where we want to continue to go? And so then
the dilemma was, she says, can we go with you? And then I knew, wait a minute.
Oh, no, and then I said, and can we go with you
in
this next phase of where we're going?
Yes.
And then the time goes by where we're raising these chickens, and then he comes back with this notepad with numbers, and he's like, I got it. We're going to start a farm. We can do this. We can start a farm. We can do this full time. We can raise chickens. We can do this many. We can make this much money. We can live off of this.
Yes.
And I know everyone, especially my parents, they thought that we were crazy. And I low-key was like, this is a little crazy. But I didn't second guess it because we were doing it together. So it wasn't a matter of him really having to convince me with the whiteboard or say all these fancy things. It was, we can do this together. The boys will grow up with me. I won't miss first steps. I won't miss birthdays. I won't miss anniversaries. All of these things played in my head because for the past so many years,
13.
that was what we knew. That was what we knew. And so to have a picture of looking at a lifestyle where we could actually do something together and be together as a family, he didn't have to convince me. He didn't have to say much. It was like, let's go. And let's do this.
Yep.
And we did.
We became really good at being. We hadn't mastered that military family, but we were starting to get really good at it, and that's dangerous. It's very dangerous for a married couple with a family to get really good at that active duty life.
We'll be talking about that more in our next talk.
Yes. Jumping ahead.
But after that time of us really coming to the decision of we were going to do this next thing.
The other question was, wait a second, if I take another job, right, it can't be something where I travel because who's going to take care of the chickens?
Oh, well.
Because now I'm going to be raising chickens. So, okay, we're doing the farming thing. Consulting, that's off the table. Because I was still battling that. That's my first love, right? Because that's what I did for so long. I'm still good at what I do, but if it's on my own terms, then I should have some control. But it's like, well, sure, until they ask you to come, and then you don't have control, right? And that's a struggle. But also the other thing was I had discovered this love for raising my own food. And I didn't want to depend on Parker's chicken anymore because he ran out at the beginning of fall, which how do you run out of chicken before the winter, right? You raise enough to carry you through, right?
Okay.
Well, he didn't do that, but it's okay. I forgive him. But so what we decided to do was, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it. We're going to do it all the way. It's going to be a business. Yep. And for some of you that have been doing this for a long time, you're probably like, "What are you talking about, y'all?" Yes. From the point of us ordering our first chicken to our first order chicken was 500. So it was extremely fast.
But the season we did what, a total of, was it 6?
That season we did 6,000 broilers. But again, like, this was, if we're gonna do it done as a business, Paige is a prior marketer, business background. I knew that we got to get the numbers right? And I had read like 1,000 books at this point. Pasture Poultry Profits, right? I read it. And I was like, okay, this is possible. We just have to bring it to today's date. Like, how do we do that, right? How do we make this possible? Well, I knew I didn't want to I needed to replace my salary, and I didn't want to raise $80,000 worth of poultry. That is a lot of chicken. Like, I don't know that's a lot of poultry to raise on pasture, right? And I said, no. We can't do it like that. During this time, we're trying to discover, okay, what are we going to do? If we're going to farm, we can't just farm chicken. I keep hearing about this term of like, you got to have all these animals and all these different things in regenerative agriculture. Okay, got it. If all these things work together. So what we started doing was I started looking into it, looking at people that were doing it on the scale that we wanted to. And there were some farms that were doing it, and they had been doing it for a very long time. I had seen that there was also a farm that was like a prior Marine. Same thing, Marsoff guy that had stomach issues as well, left to start, or he didn't leave to start a farm, but he ended up starting a farm, same thing, which built Pasture Bird today. So that, like, seeing that at the same time is like, wait a minute, they're doing it. People are doing these things that I'm desiring. Why can't we do it? It's just a matter of doing it. Because when I asked people, they were like, you're crazy. First of all, you can't do that. And I'm like, well, seeing people doing this is possible. What they wanted to say was most people aren't willing to do the work. That's just what it is. They're not willing to do the work. So at this point, we are full-fledged in. We're going into wintertime, coming up on December. We started looking for land. We signed a lease January 1st for our first 60 acres of land, which was 2.5 hours one way away from our house. I still had a job, still active duty, right? Like, still active duty. I had a year left. I said, for this last year, I'm going all in on starting this farm. So we're putting all of our eggs in this basket. That's what we're committing to it. This is what we're doing. So we lease the land, and farmers do this thing where they say chickens are the gateway to farming, right? I think farmers they have this way of introducing you to things that you don't really want to do, right? And this is how this started, right? Chickens was my thing. Pigs, after we signed the lease on the land, we got 10 pigs right away. I didn't own a livestock trailer. I didn't even have a truck to pull a livestock trailer. So how we were going to pick up these pigs was a different story. But I had a friend that I met because I needed dogs for all these chickens that I was going to raise. I was going to get some dogs for the property. He too was in the
military.
This guy was in the military. He says, hey, you bought my dogs for your chickens. I'm buying pigs. We should buy pigs together. And I was like, that's a great idea. I ain't know nothing about pigs, right? I had been raising chickens, right? And I said, how many are you going to get? He said, I'm thinking about getting 10. How many are you going to get? I say, military guy, I'm going to do 10 too, all right? If you go do 10, I'm going to do 10, right? Right? He was like, well, if you're going to do 10, I might as well just do 5, and then we can still get the discount. I was like, he was like, but you can still use my trailer as much as you need to. And I was like, okay, all right. So that started our journey into the pigs. When we signed the lease on the land, there was also a farmer that was moving to a larger farm that also said, hey, if you're going to be raising chickens and pigs, you got to have eggs. Why don't you buy my layers? And we were like, what? She was like, they're already here. They're naturally, like, they've been here. You wouldn't have to move them. You could start right up. They're already laying. You just have to maintain them. And, so we signed a lease. 75 layers, 10 chickens, 500
And-
broilers.
No, and also
that happened within 2 months.
No, and also a pig that weighed like 350 pounds that she didn't want to move either.
Another story.
She offered it as a gift, but that's another story.
Yeah.
Long story short, so we just fast tracked into this life of farming. And I think a lot of people look at our story and wonder, like, how did you guys do this? This doesn't even make sense. This is a mystery. What kept you going? And I have to keep going back to the fact that we wanted the family unit and we wanted to be nourished as a family more than anything else. And so I hope that this can serve as an encouragement for anyone who is on the fence of like, hey, can I do this? Is this a lifestyle that I can possibly lead? Yes, the answer is yes. And we are Christians, so I don't mind saying this. I believe that the only reason why we've had favor in business, the only reason why we've gotten recognition from media platforms like Vice and USA Today and like all these people is because we said yes to being a family first. And I think that if you don't have a family, or if this is something that you're still just trying to figure out and like, is this a lifestyle that you're wanting to live? I think saying yes to this is saying yes to what everyone else is saying is normal, right? Like ignoring the fact that there is an itch to be present in your children's life or to be a better friend or to be a better person in the community. Yeah. Like I think we all can answer that call, and it looks different. Do you need to raise 6,000 birds on pasture? Maybe not. But it is very, very possible for you to do something. And it is possible to make the transition from whatever that might be into the soil, which is what feeds us. The soil is what nourishes us. The soil is what keeps us alive. And without it, we're not gonna make it. So I say this all the time, like anyone can be a farmer. Everyone can be a farmer. But I do believe that everyone can grow. So maybe you don't want to take the name of I'm a farmer. You can grow. And you can grow where you're planted. And I think that that's something that in the midst of all of our story, like that is the takeaway that I would love to leave all of you with is be encouraged to grow where you are. Be encouraged to say, I'm going to make a change and I'm going to get up and do something. Husbands, if you want to order 25 chickens, I highly recommend consulting your partner first.
So first of all, I'm going to push back on that.
What?
Wives.
No, I don't.
So whenever I hear this, husbands, yeah, because I've learned something recently, right? A few of my friends that farm, they didn't sign up for farming. They didn't sign up for it, right? And they all say the same thing in the beginning. Yeah, I'm just gonna build some stuff for her, and I'm gonna just be the laborer, and then 5 years into it, they have every animal you can think about, and trying to figure out how did you get your first customer? And it's like, oh, and there we go. So it's not just us. It's Paige said something about it before about family. Maybe you don't have a family. Farming is a family, believe it or not. And this is just, I'm going to say that believe it or not, what you see or what you may read on the news, if you watch the news or whatever, it makes it seem like farmers they're out there doing it by themselves. And they're just solo, and they're out just grinding it out alone. There's no way that we would be where we are today without the farming friends that we have had. Some of them aren't full-time farmers, right? We call them gentlemen farmers. That means they go to work in the morning time. They move the animals, move the cow in the morning, and they come home and bring the chickens in the evening. They do those things in between whatever they have going on, right? It doesn't matter what you're doing. It's a community thing. It's really, really a community thing. It's going to be your neighbor that's going to come and help you when you have your second flat, because like most people, you may have one flat. But if you ever move animals on a livestock trailer, or you go pick up food from a processor and you got to go further than 45 minutes and you have one spare, you in trouble, because it's only a matter of time before you have two flats in one trip. It typically happens when you got a full load, when you pick up from the processor and you got all that bacon in the back of your trailer, or you moving whatever animal you took you forever to get on the trailer, and then you realize, oh man, I did have a flat, I did have a spare, and you're going to need some help. And there's going to be those guys that are going to come and save you, or there are going to be those guys that won't judge you. And they'll come out and they'll do it at 2 o'clock in the morning and help you move or move those animals. When those animals get out, there's been numerous times where we've had neighbors call and it's like, hey, we're in Australia or somewhere and our sheep are out and our farmhand is out of town. And it's like, what? What? Sure, yes. I'll go move them sheep. And then that kind of led to us, now we have sheep as well. So it wasn't, it was one of them things. The shepherd was called out of me when I went and called those sheep to the pasture. But yes, hopefully this has been encouraging. We want to leave some room for questions because I can talk for days about where we are and where we're headed and what we're trying to do. But I know people have questions, so if you have them, please.
Okay, yeah.
We'll
Does
take
anyone
them.
have any questions? Because we did want to leave room for questions. Go ahead. How many chickens do we have now? Not as many. So layers, we've got 200.
Typically, we keep 250 layers.
Yeah.
Broilers, we don't keep broilers on. We don't keep them on. They come in, they go out. Yep.
Yeah. But this season, for this season, we haven't raised as many broilers. Like we did thousands prior. This year, I think we did 75 just for us.
We're not doing a whole bunch of broilers this year.
And
yeah.
We'll explain that.
Feed issues
but also this too.
Yep.
But we'll explain that in just a second why we're not doing as many chickens.
Yep.
But good question. We did e-commerce as well as farmers markets. We did 7 markets at one time, which was I don't recommend that. I would definitely say e-commerce is the way to go. If you are looking, and a local CSA.
Yep. A combination of all of them. In the beginning, if you don't have it, you just pick a bunch of them. And she asks, how are we marketing or how do we customers? You just gotta, open the doors. We always say friends and family first, your neighbors, because surprisingly, you would think that they know that you have stuff, and they don't. They think that you just harboring animals in your property and you don't actually sell them, but you could tell them, hey, I do. And those are the best ones, word of mouth. And then if you want to go full-fledged, then of course like social media marketing and stuff like that.
Yep.
We're in Durham County, outside of Durham. Hillsborough. Oh, we're your neighbors, Black Horse Run. Yep. Okay, Rougemont. Yep.
Question. Oh, well, that's a loaded question. So I think veteran families in general, and I'm not like I don't know if I can say this as a true military. I was a military spouse, but I would say learning how to work with your spouse is a challenge, and you have to just have grace there because you are relearning one another. And I had a friend that joked about that. She was like, oh, so like, you are like on a honeymoon, like you're like remarried again. And I was like, actually we kind of are. So therapy, I'm a big advocate of marriage therapy. I think it's awesome. Counseling, I'm not ashamed to say that we have done counseling, and it is very helpful.
If you're a veteran farmer, farm.
I'm not done with this, but I would say veterans make the best farmers. And veterans make the best farmers because they have the go-get-'em mentality. And people, again, are like, I don't even understand how you guys did that. That was our lifestyle, right? Like, we were just accustomed to, you say we have to go, we move, right? We're doing what needs to get done, and when the job is done, the end.
So people hear that, and they're like, well, what do you mean veterans make the best farmers, right? So what is that? What are we truly saying? There are a lot of veterans that the USDA they've made this blanket statement that they support veteran farmers, right? And that's hopefully we got any representatives from the Department of Agriculture. Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure before I say that. I was still gonna say it, but that you have this preference and they want you to farm and they're the next and they're the greatest and I think there's a number of reasons why they do that. One is good for business, but two, I believe that they say that about veterans. One is because you've already been trained. You understand how to get it done, right? The mentality is suck it up and drive on, right? Just suck it up. But what I push back on for veteran farmers is don't just suck it up, push back. Push back as farmers, right? Don't allow them to tell you the way that you should farm and the things that you should do because that's what they want you to do when you go and ask them for money. Multiple times people say, well, why haven't you bought the land? We haven't bought it because I'm not willing to suck it up and drive on. You're not going to tell me that I have to raise my chickens in confinement in order for you to loan me the money to buy some property. And they don't recognize the type of farming that we do because it's not because the money isn't there, because I did the numbers for them, and they were like, you're going to make how much? And that's, how are you able to do that? It's like, well, that's math. I mean, it's just math. If I buy a chicken for $2 and I only put $10 worth of feed in it and I sell it for $30, that's profit. But if I buy a chicken for 2 cents and I put $10 worth of feed in it and $20 worth of fuel in it and I sell it for 59 cents, there is no money in that.
Right.
It's just not.
That was loaded, sorry. But wrap up, I'd say know your market. If you're working with your spouse, counseling is great. And also, it just is. And I would also say to find like-minded people who are in the same community as you.
Reach out.
Reach out. So any other questions?
Somebody got a question. Someone has, you're thinking about it.
Oh. We are.
We are.
Grass Grazed is the handle on social media. Yep. Grass Grazed.
Grass Grazed everything.
Find us there.
Yep.
So we have 60 plus, I say plus because there's an additional 100 acres that we have access to for grazing. And then we live on a homestead that's like 7 acres.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Any other questions?
So between 3 properties, it's about 160 to 80 acres.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
So that leads us
We
to good
pig
question.
farmers. Currently, we have about 45, and that's still too many. We're supposed to be in.
No, that's not.
Typically, we try to keep anywhere between 75 and 80 on farm at a time because we sell a lot of pork.
So go ahead.
The initial.
Yeah.
So currently,
Here.
when we were doing full-time everything came from the farm for the first 4 years.
Yeah.
But now
I took a job.
she took something, but it was also so that we can transition into the next phase of our farm, which required a little bit more money without taking a loan.
Yeah.
So,
So-
the farm supported itself.
It did. So we are going to, I guess, kind of make a little pitch now into talking about the next phase. So we have been doing this for 5 years now,
Yeah.
which is crazy. And you had a question about chickens and why we're not raising as many chickens. Well, after you've been farming for a long time, and especially full-time, you then realize, hey, there's some bottlenecks. And I could talk about that for a long, long time, but I'm not going to. So we figured out the bottlenecks, and we realized that we needed to pivot in a way that was going to be beneficial for us as well as our customer base. And so we, one of the things that I feel like really, as a mom, one of the things that really bothered me was that I had family members that couldn't get access to our food, right? Like I had family members who were like, oh, I live in California, I live in New York, I live here. And also from the business side, people were contacting us all the time about shipping products, and the demand was high, and also the cost of goods were even higher, right?
And UPS and FedEx was losing stuff.
They're losing stuff all the time. And losing a fourth of a cow may not sound like a big deal, but it is if you've raised that cow for a couple of years and then you lose it. It hurts your heart. So then we realized, hey, maybe the next thing is us transitioning into making a product that is accessible for everyone, right? A product that my teenage brother can afford. A product that is not necessarily frozen, but it can be shipped nationwide. And so we decided that we were going to do a crowdfunding campaign. So this is what this video is about. And we just want to share this with you guys so you have an idea of what we're doing next in the next phase of Grass Graze.
Derrick.
And I'm Paige.
And we're the Jacksons.
We launched Grass Graze Farm in 2019. You may have seen us on Vice Media, USA Today, Mother Earth News, and Heifer USA. We are a regenerative farm based in North Carolina. There we raise pastured poultry, grass-fed beef, and pastured pork. We set out on a mission to grow nutrient-dense food with integrity. We wanted to find food that we couldn't find in the grocery stores, that was raised ethically and superior, and that's exactly what we set out to do. While holding true to our mission and vision, we realized that there was a demand for high-quality protein that was accessible to individuals and families on the go. We constantly received inquiries about shipping our product nationwide, so we created Gray Snacks.
Now we're asking for your help to make our dream become reality. We're asking for your support to raise $25,000 for the first 2 rounds of production. This will help establish the foundation for the next phase of Grass Grace and allow you to be a part of the journey.
All right. So, go ahead.
Yeah, so just for some, there's 2 things. Why this? Why did we decide that we were going to cut our production in certain areas and focus on a product, right? Because 2 things that I've discovered, or a few things that I've discovered throughout farming is majority of the products that are on the shelves at the grocery store, there's no face attached to it, right? And when there's no face attached to it, then it probably means there's a reason for it. Right? If you look at any type of marketing one-on-one, like there's a reason why they don't put a face on things. They put faces on things that they want people to know about. So when you go to the doctor's office, there's a picture of your doctor on the wall. They don't have pictures of like mountaintops and stuff like. They have pictures of the physicians in the hospital, and they're smiling. They want you to know your physician. Well, what's the difference between the difference between the profession of being a physician and being a farmer, right? Like, we're not healing, well, I believe we're healing people, but they may not believe that, but your food does heal people, right? It keeps us nourished. It's a big deal. We kind of need to eat. I don't know if any of y'all are living off of anything other than food. Is there, no one, right? Right, so our farmers are important, right? And there should be a face attached to it. So if there's a reason, if the only reason I can think that why there is no face attached to a farm or to products in the grocery store is because there's no integrity and there is no accountability behind it. There isn't. I can farm the way that I farm because there is accountability. My wife keeps me accountable. Our buying club members keep us accountable. They know who we are. They know us by name. We know their kids. We're very, very transparent. Right, but why is it that products in the store are not transparent? They don't pay their farmers very well. There's a reason why milk. You would think that as much milk as people drink, that dairy farmers would be rich. Well, that's the opposite, right? It is the complete opposite, and that doesn't make sense. It doesn't. The only thing is that they don't want to pay the farmers. They don't want to, and they don't want to keep them accountable. So what we decided to do was we were going to create a product that would compete with all the other vendors or all the other manufacturers or producers that are out there that don't put faces on their products, that say that they're American raised when they're not. Majority of the snack lines that are out there, they're not American products. They are not. There's only a few of them that exist, and you will not find them in the grocery store. You may find them at other farms. You'll find them at local farms. But if you try to go to the grocery store, if you stop at a convenience store and you try to buy something, majority of those products specifically meat sticks, come from the protein comes from other countries. Why is that important? Why does that matter? Because if you say you want to farm and you want to sell to somebody and you want to feed your neighbors, you got to produce products that they will buy. Like, you have to. And we put the time in to do that, so we created a product that would allow us to control exactly what goes into the product and where it's distributed. There's no middleman, there's nobody adding anything to it, and there's no one that's involved with it to tell us what we can and what we have to do in order to get it to customers. We have complete autonomy to do whatever it is that we want to do with our product. It's been USDA approved without the claims. That's okay. We don't need the claims anyway, because we don't need them to come and tell us that we raise our animals on pasture, because our animals know that they're raised on pasture. But that's the whole reason for it. So we shifted from selling at farmers markets. We still sell to farmers, but our primary thing is we want to create a product that will provide a foundation for our farm. This will keep me on the farm, and this keep my farm hands, my farm managers, anybody that's involved with our farm operations on salary and pay them well, and to grow for our community as well. Having a product that does that without a loan or a big, healthy $1.5 million loan, which is needed in order to buy land, we decided we're going to create a product that will carry our farm for the next generation. So that's the whole reason for Gray Snacks and transitioning out from producing 8,000 broilers, because it just burns you out after a time when it's a 5-person operation.
Yep. So hopefully we've given you guys a lot of things to chew on. We are going to be available at our booth later on today. We had T-shirts, but they didn't come in. So we're just going to be doing pre-sales for the sticks. So if you are interested in supporting our next endeavor, we would really appreciate it. And even if you're not, this is not a plea to just like get money. This is a plea to also encourage you guys to share what we're doing. I think that's the beauty of conferences like that, is that we can get around like-minded people who hopefully believe in the same things that we do about supporting local farms, and also just what's happening in agriculture at large. And so if you all can take the time to scan our QR code at our booth and share that with a friend, we would really, really appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank y'all.